So it's just going to be a chill thing reviewing a lower level team, Pier Pressure. They have had a scrim recently and asked me to auto review it, so I'm going to be doing so through Twitch. So yep. Let's get started with putting in the replays. I think also just I'll need to find them in DMs. Hold on. Right here. Good. Hello, Pistolix. So okay, replay 1. Good. So because it's from the perspective of blue, it'll be their team. Blue, Slice, Star, and DOI Stasis. So just looking at these comps, Junior, Dapple, Nuvo, Gal, and Splash. So very aggressive. I think I'm curious about Dapple Dooley's Nuvo specifically, because all of these weapons are short range and fast. They might benefit from Tacticooler. But aside from that, I think this comp's a pretty good. It's on zones, so if you really want Torpedo, maybe have Blue on Custom Junior, and then Slice on Dapple, and it's on Founder too, so beacons might be pretty helpful. But yeah, let's just get started, since that's a nitpick. Doesn't look like necessarily a bad comp, especially for lower levels, so I don't know how it would do against 3 Splash in the machine, but that is not the concern here. Also, if auto is weird, let me know. Okay, I also want to talk about, actually, okay, you can't pause while the map is up. So the opposing team is a Splash, Junior, Slosher, and Leader. So immediately thinking here, you need some way to displace the Leader. You have Whale for that, you have Crab for that. And also you just have flanks, since Flounder is a map where Leader isn't that strong. It's not like Mincemeat where it's sort of pigeonholing into mid where there's not really any flanks you can do. Flounder is all flanks. There's so many walls that the Leader won't be able to watch all of them, so just choosing a good time to flank will be very valuable here. So we see Junior, Dapple, and so 3 of them are going on the left side, just painting up passively. I think as far as the Gal, it might be useful if Star was in top mid throwing a splash wall, just because that would allow them and Stasis or Slice to fight up front with the splash wall and be able to do so a bit more safely, especially with that Leader watching. You can already see its range is very oppressive with that shot that was just made. So you get it from the Leader, that's really good, and then there you get a trade. So here it's just a bit too much time that's went by before the wall is thrown. The Slosher is able to just take advantage of. Actually, yeah, the fact that it's the Slosher means the wall didn't finish, right? Okay, I think on Flounder, everyone started on left as well. So okay. This is a map where it's very easy to get into top mid and sort of stay there. But the problem with that is top mid has one tiny bridge that you can Thank you, Pacey. So top mid has a tiny bridge that you can walk through, but not much else. There are the 2 flanks that you can jump through, but in general, you have a lot of short-range weapons. They are not going to be able to win against a slosher in top mid because a slosher just has more range against you. They're not going to be able to win against a leader unless you flank. Really what you want is some angle to get the jump on the opponent. And because all of you started, you might not have started immediately there. Like we see at the very beginning, Stasis does or Slice does try to go up the wall and trench, and does try to engage here, but actually this is a fight where they could have just stayed in that position. No one was really pressuring them, but it seems like no one really took the trench area. Like here, I might have liked to see, instead of going up top from this angle, to instead go around the balloon and to their side of zone from behind, from their side of the map. So that would make it so that at least they have an off angle and the opponent has to back up and give you more space to at least fight the Dapple, if not just die to it. But going up this way, the splash was already there. They see the junior behind the Dapple, so even though they might not know the Dapple is there specifically, they're already shooting shots in that general direction. They're trying to throw bombs there to pressure, so the Dapple isn't able to make use of its DPS because its range is so low. And you see it's still trying to here, but the Slosher was already looking in that general direction, so as soon as they appear, the Slosher was able to just get out of range like this, and then get crossfired because of respawns. So here, okay, here you're 2 down. I see the bubbles up, but it's still a bit unsafe here. It might just be worth it to back up and poke with bombs. It's really unsafe, and to lose your crab or your, well, you just pop bubble, but to have so much time where you're not painting and contesting with bombs is very risky, so especially since the leader is respawned. So especially, yeah, so they had 2 specials, so with the crab and the ink strike, it might have been better to, as soon as you saw you were 2 down, to slowly make space on your zone and try to move back to your team's left side. I guess what I mean by that is the area where Star is now. I don't quite know callouts on this map, I apologize. But as you can see with Blue's positioning, backing to that spotting Flounder is essentially you're going to get outranged and slowly just spaced out and pretty much cornered. So the crab is it highlights this, but the same thing would have happened even if they didn't have a crab right now. Also, just a side note, if you see your team is 2 down and the opponent is likely going to push into your zone, it doesn't take that much longer to swim in. I think also with VDApples, you might have been able to get a beacon in a safer spot, but jumping to your teammates on zone when the opponent is going to push that zone first, it's just a very risky play that makes it so that you lose a lot of time and they can get set up even harder on your side. So we now see Star trying to engage here. One pick is gotten from Stasis, which honestly, nice job getting a trade there. Wait. I think I wasn't aware there. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, so Blue was trapped there, then Stasis moves in after and drops down. So okay. Oh. Okay, so this is just what I was saying earlier. If you see that the opponent is getting control in a space and your teammate's cornered, jumping into them leaves you without. Here you're without paint. They're already looking this direction. They have full control of it, and all 4 of them are up. You're alone. So, there wasn't really much you could do there. And furthermore, you can see on the top right, you were halfway to crab. If you would have swam in, then you would be able to charge crab and be able to use that special to push in. But because you jumped in, that made it so that it's a lot. There's much more time before you're able to get that crab and get a safer push back in with your teammates. So even if you would have won that fight, it would still be a 2 versus 3, right? Since the only person in front right now is just Star. I don't know about this whale right now, because even though you did get 1 down, look at your team. So your junior is just on the respawn and not really in a space to take fights with the whale, and your teammates are respawning from spawn. So essentially, you're the furthest one up, which is understandable as a gal, but it's a 1v3 at the moment. So using killer whale there doesn't really push them out of any positions for long enough for your team to capitalize on it. So what I mean by that is, if you did that when let's say all 4 of your team were in mid somewhere, the whale would force the opponent to move and focus on the whale. So then they will be able to use that chip damage, and like the fact that whale forces people to move around into less optimal positions. And then your teammates and you will be able to take 2v1s or 1v1s with the whale and be much more likely to win them. That is getting the splat, or at the very least, whale would force the opponent to move back. And then moving back away from mid means you can capture the zone. So whale timing, just make sure that it's something that you're able to push up with, since only now you're able to really pressure. And that was a good pick, but unfortunate bomb. Let's see. So last alive is a splash. Okay, I know that you went 3 down very suddenly there, but remember you were very close to crab, so I can see why you're doing this. So getting the leader is very important to get back offense, but as soon as you realize that you're 3 down, generally it's just good to back up, because one, the leader they knew you were there as soon as you popped up, and they had time to get a charge. So if you win this fight, say you pick off the leader, they have 3 people in mid that are ready to fight you still, and that's a 1v3. And because their teammates are respawning, they won't be able to do much with that pick. But if you die here, then you lose crab. And so we see you win that fight. But then, as I said, the rest of the team's just in mid and able to continue the fight. The bomb comes in from the junior, who's only needing to look at you because you were the last one alive. And you die with crab tank available. So, I think a big thing here is just, if you see your team is 2 or 3 down, you don't need to, like, back up all the way to your spawn, but it's unsafe generally if the opposing team is pushing to try to pressure without any cover around you, or any way to back up. So, I think it's just important that, conserving special and playing with it in mind to be able to push back in. Since right here, you're taking a fight while you're halfway to whale. still learning controls, but I want to look at the dapple here for a minute. Thank you, Zaya. You as well. So the dapple does try to start going in from an off angle here, but you can notice that also all of this area on I like to call the area they're looking at right now the trench, and then the area to the right where the enemy can be seen, I sort of call that car park. So the trench isn't painted, the car park is not painted yet. So that could be, those are relatively safe areas to charge special compared to top mid where the opponent is going to be actively shooting at you. So those can be valuable to paint, not only so you can grab special to push back in, but so that you have a way out, so you can swim away if and just have more space to move around if things get unfortunate. So here you don't really have that much paint around you, and because the splash has relative paint, it's able to use movement and pick you off. And again, you did lose special there. I think with Dapple, I think it's mostly just the best case scenario, that area would already be painted by one of your teammates coming back in to slowly grab special. So that would be the Gal, the Splash, the Junior. So now we're probably going to see the Splash flank. So I think just big things I'm repeating here are just painting behind you and making sure that or painting behind mid if you don't quite have control of zone. And I know Flounder is a weird map to do that with, but essentially just you don't only need to come up to zone from left. You can come up to it from the trench or the car park. So at least contesting paint there. You don't need full control. Well, you need control of your car park preferably so that you don't get flanked from right. But the trench will likely still be contested since they are in top mid. But I'm just seeing a lot of dying with special here, and just note the Chargers positioning here. They had an angle on the stasis. They still have an angle on you. They saw you earlier and fired a shot, so it might just be better to back up and move to far left here. Since without something like Killer Whale, you're not really going to be able to move the leader out of that position, and they're not going to be looking at. Essentially, they have sighted you. And if they held their shot, then you would have died there while being close to crap. Okay. So you were able to get 2 down just from your picks of mid. But yes, you just from 1v1s happening, you won enough of them so that you were able to get control, but it's a very you can see a lot of paint on your side of the map that's still the enemy team's color, so they can very much get some form of a flank. So it's a very shaky form of control. Leader jump back, so I think a big thing here might be to just paint behind you for I think that will probably be the Junior painting behind, so that you'll be able to get a bubble to put on right zone, so that your team can keep pushed up. Right here. So particularly with the Gal, you see your teammates are all on left side, sort of just painting up there. I think you just holding right side, still trying to cap zone and moving up from there might be okay here because you're still taking new space. You're getting a whale and you have a splash wall. So with that wall, you can make sure that your fights aren't being. You can make sure that you have time to back up if things get hairy. And so you can still sort of poke from behind your wall while still not fully dedicating yourself so that if you essentially getting paint in front of objective while conserving your life so that you can wail and then push further later. Since also in this position, you're not really able to help out Slice or Stasis. I do know they popped a crab there, so one thing about fighting against crab specifically, sometimes it's just better to hide from it. um, from a position like that, it's very difficult to engage with up front because crab just has the damage and the defense. So it might just be better to wait it out, or at the very least, like, pressure from an angle that the crab can't directly see. So, like, on this zone, sort of where the 07A, that marking on the wall, it's sort of near the zone. So that wall could be used for cover in that position instead of just going directly into it. And again, here it's sort of just the same idea of the crab still watching top mid. You could swim back into trench and be relatively safe. Star, you have a habit of jumping every time you start shooting, by the way. Because jumping makes it so that you can't really go back into the ink for a while, and your position is sort of, it's telegraphed. So if opponents know how to track someone who's jumping, then you're pretty much putting yourself in a disadvantageous position for a couple of frames, and I just recommend jumping as a mix-up instead of actively doing it. Okay. So, as far as this is a big team fight, the wall helps, and the good thing about that fight is both the Gal and Junior, you both chose a target in the splash that overextended, and you both shot at it. So that was good. This is a little bit forward. Well, it's fine, it's fine. That was a really good pick. Yeah, not much to say about that, just unfortunate bomb. But I do like that you were starting to push up into the two there cornered on right side. So Stasis, I think one big thing here is, well, let's see how this plays out. Okay, so at that point, you all had given enough space to the... Actually, I'm going to rewatch that just for personal sake. Is that too far? So here they pop bubble. Okay, so you're able to get one down. Slice is very far back right now. I think their torpedoes would be very much appreciated up front, but... Yeah, I think in the time that you were jumping there, you could probably throw a torpedo just to slightly give an edge. And I want to note that because you all got the junior and then got the well, it was the splash, and then you got the leader, Slice, you could try to capitalize on that and move up as far as possible with Star's Wall. And you sort of wait here sharking. This gives them time to essentially set up with the Ink Strike and be able to fully get back, and be able to get back in a bit better than they could have. It also lets the junior sort of set up in that position to be able to pick off Stasis and yourself. So that is nice. As for I don't know how much sharking helps here because it's mostly what exactly you're going to do with this position. Like the enemy team doesn't know you're there. That is true. But they don't really need to. At least personally when playing Flounder, I often anticipate the opponent coming from the right wall, or like this wall specifically. So even though they might not know exactly where you are, they're going to be in a place so that you can't surprise them and pick them off. And so I think in this time that you're sharking, you could just be painting up around you, so the left drop, or to your left, or near stasis, or even zone, and be charging up a killer whale. So a big thing with pushing back in is using your specials. So even just having one of them will be very helpful. So, okay, you eventually do drop down, but I guess just you could have been painting left a bit more. I think this is the stock definition of a hero play. So you see that the opponent has zone still, and you start trying to push into contested, but you do so without any specials. And so if you win your fights, sure, you're going to so if you win your fights, sure, you're going to get a bit of control there, but remember they have been painting around in the time that it's taken all of you to respawn. And so you can see already the splash has a crab tank ready for your counter push. And you're very close to whale. So I think just waiting a bit. Okay. So waiting a bit to push whale and then push in with that whale would likely give a bit more success than pushing in and then grabbing whale from that and then pushing further, because you're not really going to be able to do that initial push up to charge whale safely, especially if you drop down like this. So I think Squid School has a video on getting safe paint around you as well. I would highly recommend that, or painting defensively. So I'm just going to watch Blue for a bit here. Getting a trade, similar position, just a hero play, sort of going up without any specials to help. I actually want to watch that blink a bit. So your Gauda goes down. You're one down, 3v4. Okay, so one of the main things with Reef Slider is once you use it, it's very visible. Like it creates this track on the field. So it's pretty easy to dodge. They have all paint around them. The leader's in an elevated spot, so it's not going to hit them. And the enemy's teammates can... Okay, the enemy's teammates can or the leader's teammates can turn around. As you can see, the splash is already painting, because they know exactly where your reef slider stopped. And so because of that, I don't think Sharp here was the right decision. Furthermore, I think you might be focusing a bit too much on the leader instead of the other opponents. So I think Flounder is a difficult map to be able to play coordinated compared to some other maps in the game. But I do think one thing is at the very least trying to flank the same targets that your team is. So from the beginning of the flank, you're coming in from here. You throw a torpedo up and then swim up here. Right here, the leader sees you. And the leader remembers that you were just there and swam into this area. So they likely think that you're either going to be going for a large flank or going to be coming up like this. So because of that, they instantly go into swim form as soon as they see you try to appear. And they're in a very defensive survival mode now. Sure, they can't go for your teammates, but they don't really need to because the splash popped a crab tank and the gal is down. So their teammates are fine. And they can just stall you here until their teammates come in and help. So one big thing with flanks like this is who sees you, who knows where you are on the map. And when can you mix that up? So the leader saw you coming up on trench, so it might have been better to, instead of going for them specifically with the reef slider, to maybe throw a torpedo up at them so that they have to focus on that, while you help your teammates on left zone. So I know I'm sort of hammering this point down, but essentially you can see all of them are looking on far left. So Slice, I think if you would have, instead of using Reef Slider here, if you threw a torpedo, or if you just, like, pressure the left zone instead, maybe from going around and then sort of climbing up the car park wall and then hitting zone from an off angle, or going up from top mid, so where you were, but just facing the other direction with the Reef Slider. Something like that might have had a bit more success. Because your teammates were currently fighting the ones in left zone, while the leader was just watching you on right zone. So I think there was definitely potential there to help your teammates out, and not completely focus on the leader. Stasis, the rest of your team died to various things. You were moving up without paint around you, at all. And I think this is like, it might be a form of panic setting in. So you see that they're close to counting down on 43. So you sort of want to go up and stop it as soon as possible. But in situations like this, until they've gotten the KO, zones is something that's very commonly turned around. So I think just staying on your side of the map, or maybe in trench even, or car park, and painting around there to charge up your crab tank, which is already halfway. I think that might have had a bit more success, since right here, even though you have crab tank, the enemy team still has full paint control, and so they're able to pick off this crab. Also, one other thing with crab tank is, because its back is exposed, it's usually better to pop it from farther back. So like on Flounder Heights, maybe the top area on left side, because there isn't that much that can flank around there, or at least not do so quickly. And because Crab Tank has so much range, you're able to do a lot of relatively safe pokes with it. I like the torpedo and backing up here. That was good. Sharking here, so the enemy team still knows you're on left. As I said, it's very common for people to climb up this wall, so the enemy will be watching it. Um, so sort of staying in this position without painting at all, it's revealing a location without doing anything productive with that. So you could be painting on the area around the slosher, or like to the left of them, before they saw you. Or you could even be painting the area below the wall before you push up. And I think especially with Dapple, it's something that you don't want your position to be known by the opposing team, because they can outspace you. Everything but the splash has more range than you. So they can sort of reposition and just stall you out, but not if you get the jump on them. And by climbing up the left wall, you're not really getting that. Also, because they have a slosher that's very good at pressuring the walls, so just be careful of that. Also, stasis, you did not need to jump there. As I said before, Flounder is a map where you can, even if they did have stealth, yeah, so they have stealth, but, like, if the slosher was moved up just a bit further, they could have seen the jump, and I think that it can sometimes be valuable to just move in without jumping into a teammate, just so you can get, like, there's a lot of pain in spawn right now, that they could have gotten for a potential special for retake. So Crab especially, Whale especially, Bubble somewhat. Reef Slider's not really a great special overall, so I don't think it's that relevant here. But just painting up your spawn a bit to get special and then moving in with that. You don't need to paint the entirety of spawn. It's not turf war, but just spending like a second or two to paint and get, I guess, if there aren't opponents pressuring an area, you can try to paint up around that area to get special and get control without risking your life for new control. Because it also makes it easier to pressure new areas with enemies, because you just painted your side of the map, so you have more spaces to move around. I'm also noticing that absolutely everyone is moving in from far left here. Because they have a leader, they only need to watch one area because of this. I think it was better when Slice was moving to the right. At least Slice. Honestly, I think maybe the Gal would be valuable to be able to do that as well, or the Splash. I think for Junior, it's fine for them to move in left most of the time on this map. But in general, everyone going exactly the same way on maps like this can make it a bit difficult to uh, survive against the leader, against even just enemies like the Slosher, because they can sort of just fire shots before they know exactly where you are to get paint control, and then be able to have you in a spot where there's just not that much paint around you. So right here, Blue and Slice are painting passively, so Stasis is moving in just I think you got that one pick, and it's another state of panic, right? So they're at 17. You're thinking it's almost over. You need to do something. You can stop the timer by painting zone, first of all. So that can be very valuable. Splash paints a lot. And also, it means that you're not risking your life and risking your crab tank to a slosh here. So, if you can see on the top right, you basically have crab tank. That would have been amazing to have on the retake. Unfortunately, because you died, it wasn't really able to be used. So, we're seeing the push in, but at this point, too many people have gone down, so there's not really the ability to paint there. So I guess the big things I'm seeing is going up front alone, um, and sort of panicking when the enemy team is in control. Everyone going the same way, and special coordination. So I think at this point, you don't need to worry about timing your special right as much. It's still an important thing, but I think just surviving until you can pop special would give a big improvement to your pushes, since even though they might not be perfect, you'll still have some ability to use special. So that's game one. I think as for specific players, I saw Stasis with, I guess just the hero plays were happening a lot. I think Splash as a weapon is very valuable to sort of just stay back, throw burst bombs, and recharge ink. And then charge Crab Tank. You only got 2 in that game, so I think a large part of that was you were close in a lot of the situations that I said, and you just weren't able to pop them just yet. As for... Yeah, I think that's one of the main things. And then Slice, I guess Flounder Heights specifically is a hard map to flank on. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's very difficult to play in that form, but it's still very valuable to learn as a dabble, since that's something that will be happening often. Yeah, and I think just from everyone I was seeing, just sort of moving in, panicking, and staying very far up front when the opponent was in a position to be able to punish that very hard. So that's game one. Now for game two. Okay. Please be right. Okay, good. Okay, Clan Blitz Mahi Mahi. This is a map that's just very I think it's a lot more straightforward than Flounder, at least. It can be difficult to organize pushes and execute them because getting past the opposing team's left side can be difficult. I want to talk about gear just for a second, Blue. I see a lot of Sub-Saver on your gear. I think Last Ditch Effort could be very useful for you. Even in Clan Blitz, the opposing team, well, it's common to get to all 5 minutes of a Clan Blitz game, and if the opposing team gets a push, which will likely happen if the games are close, then there will be. It can be more valuable than a single extra main of a Subsaver. Additionally, if you are able to win the game and it's not close, then you didn't really need last ditch effort anyways. So LDE on Clan Blitz, it's the same as all ranked modes. So it begins giving Inksaver main, Inksaver sub, and Ink recovery up in small amounts from when the timer hits 50. Or not when the timer hits 50. So when the remaining 100. When the opposing team scores 50 points initially, it'll begin with, I think it's 1 or 2 subs, and then it slowly increases until it gets to 40 ability point. It is not 40. Wait, I think it's 24. Yeah, it's 24 ability points. So that's essentially 2 mains of Ink main or main saver, sub saver, and Ink recovery when the opposing team hits 30 or less. So that's getting at least 70 points. It also activates at full capacity if it's the last 30 seconds of the game, and this continues in overtime. So that's just something to consider. Um, yeah. Just watch out for the charger at the start. One thing here, I'm seeing that blue is... Wait, how did those picks happen? Hold on. What happened here? Was it... Okay, it was a bomb and the leader got 1. So from this, the opposing team is immediately 2 down. Mid is completely free to be able to get pain down. Blue does this. Blue's relatively far up. Using cover against the charger, that's good. I just see that Japes and Stasis, you're not really doing that much to get left side control. Because the enemy went 2 down, if the Tetra reveals themselves, they won't be with much paint, and there will be all 4 of you are still alive. So you'll be able to punish that accordingly. But as you can see on the map here, they're just moved back into their clan basket. And so you're able to take the left side of mid pretty much for free right now. So I don't think you need to be nearly as passive at the moment. Then when... I think it might be a matter of reaction time. So you saw that they were 2 down, but it was a few seconds after. And so you slowly got that positioning and then started trying to take it all the way. But then as you did, they had respawns up already. And so now it's a 3v3. The bubble here is okay. I think keeping up pressure here was pretty good. It's mostly just that it is a little bit unsafe since you do have control of mids, so you have relatively safe areas to back up if you need. I assume you died to a bomb there, but... Oh, so you move a bit in front of bubble and then die to the charger. So I think just staying inside of your bubble or behind it was the play here, because Junior is able to still paint a lot, is able to throw bombs to support teammates. And that can be very valuable when the opposing team is trying to push in, because they have to contest with a Junior painting the ground. And then from there, it was I think just slow reaction time to a Reef Slider coming in. I think it might also have been the Charger getting a lot of paint from the pick. That might have made it harder to move, but yeah, so good pick. Yeah, and you can see that after the opposing team got 3 down, they didn't waste any time to go in. Even though they're 2 down with it, they still got a pick. Or they still got a push from it. I know you got a trade here, but it was really good that Blue and Stasis, you took that fight as a group. And I know the Tetra sort of just moved in for it for points, but it's still just a valuable thing to note, taking fights as a team. So, Japes, I like the poking and the idea that you have of trying to get mid control here. Just watch out for the Charger. I think. Okay, so in this position, you have the bubble or the balloon to use for cover, and the block in mid. Using either of those against Charger should be decent. It's mostly just this map is one where Charger can see practically all of mid, and so if they're not in a position where like they're running away, it's pretty safe to assume that they'll be watching either left side of mid or right side of mid. And so being either outside of that radius that they're trying to shoot shots in, or being behind cover is really your best bet. So now your team's 1 down. Okay, this positioning is pretty correct. So Stasis and Blue, just stay back. You're 1 down, no need to push in. This is good. Star gets a good pick on someone who overextended. So now you have the man advantage. And then another really good pick there. One thing I want to note, when you have Power Clam, the enemy team can see your position. And so just in a team comp like this, you have an E-leader and Star. Star's position's pretty much known to everyone. Their laser reveals it, as well as just the fact that they'll be further back, so even if their position's known, it doesn't mean as much for how far they're able to pressure. For weapons with much shorter range, on the other hand, so particularly the 10 attack here, Japes, it's not very recommended to hold Power Clam longer than you should, or longer than you need to, rather, or even like not making one. Just because you're able to throw it to either the junior whose position isn't as, they don't shark as much or hide in the ink as much. Yeah, I don't think I'll have time to review all of the replays. Just probably this one, and then I think just these 2 games should give enough for them, and also it's getting later than I thought. So but yeah, so having your position not known to the enemy is very valuable as a frontline weapon. And so to pass your Power Clam as a 10 attack to the E-leader makes it so that you're able to hide in the ink and take fights without essentially having a point sensor on you. And right there, the Charger could see exactly where you were while you were busy fighting the Gal. And so they were able to pick you off. They might not have had that aim if you didn't have the Power Clam with you. Okay. I can kind of see what you were trying with the bubble, but you were still moving into enemy ink where you were outnumbered 3-1. So even if you get the bubble there, it's not close enough to be able to get any points in the basket. And the man advantage is not in your favor. Additionally, Star can't really help out that much in the position they're at right now. Actually, regarding that, I wonder, on Mahi, have you considered moving to the block on the right side? So, sort of the block that you just passed by on the right. It might be a useful position to pressure the opponent, or at least like charge a shot below it and then swim up holding the charge. It could be something that could catch an opponent off guard at least. Oh, one thing about that, Star, just make sure that if you're 2 down, you don't need to get clams immediately. Well, I guess like you getting clams in mid while the Tetradulies were pushing up on right side. It was just very possible that you would die there instead of being able to be in a position where you could just be charging a shot and waiting for them to overextend, which I think you've been doing a good job of hitting them throughout the game. But I guess that was one instance where I think you could have still been set up where you were on right before the bubble was popped. Stasis, again, it's just, well, two things here. One, you went 1 down with the junior. So with the 3v4 or 3v3, there's not all that much you can do to make a push. So generally just staying back, throwing burst bombs to chip the opponent, and then waiting if they overextend to punish that. Furthermore, on Mahi Mahi, generally the opponent will be watching the left flank or have someone on that duty. So, especially since they're all sort of backed up into their side of the map. So, jumping over there without any paint on your side, it made you an easy pick for both the junior and the gal. So it's sort of moving into a 1v2. Main thing with this positioning, Japes, is just generally the opposing team pushes in right side on this map. Just as it's easier for you to push in from the left than it is to push from the right. So on respawn, when the opposing team has like a man advantage or pain advantage in mid, I generally like going to the right side because you can still watch left from there and reposition if someone jumps over. Like sort of like how your splash did, honestly. This also makes you a target for the charger. But I generally like going right side on respawn just to help out teammates like blue on the gal. Okay, I think that was right here. So you throw an ink strike, but remember you're still in a 3-3. Your position is known because you're holding the power clamp. And your teammates are all backed up. They're not even in mid right now. So yes, your ink strike did force them to move, but they're still in a position where they have paint to still move around. And they're not going to do so predictably. You don't quite know everyone who's up front, and you don't really have safe paint around you. And furthermore, you don't have teammates around you to help in these fights. So they're able to just throw a bomb and back up, or the Tetras are able to get a jump on you because you still try to push up. So generally, this is partly, I think you could have waited to use Ink Strike before pushing up. Additionally, when you want to push up as an aggressive weapon, I would generally recommend having someone else hold a power clam at all times. If that isn't possible, which on this comp it pretty much always is, because you have a junior and a leader. But say you're in solo queue and you can't, like you're all T-Dex, then it might be beneficial to throw it on the ground behind you. So then if you die, a teammate can pick it up from behind, but also your position isn't known to the enemy, so it's a bit less likely that it might take them a bit more time to realize that you're pushing in with that. Stasis is a bit further up than the rest of the team on left side. They're not really able to help. Okay, I do like that Japes is throwing bombs in that direction, though. It is helping a lot, and I think Stasis would have died if they didn't do that, so good work, Japes. Yeah, that was... I see you were beginning to back up, I think, Stasis, so... I think it was just a bit... You were already a bit too far in, unfortunately. And then Reef Slider being... I think as time goes on, Reef Slider can get a bit easier to work with, just because it takes a while for it to start up. It's just something to keep in the back of your mind as don't be in a place where you can be cornered by Reef Slider. So I saw that initially you were on the right side of the train tracks that it creates. If you were on the left side, then you could have gotten out of the radius in time, I think. So it's just a little bit of knowledge like that. Okay, that was a good pick. 2v2. Okay, you get picks in mid. Stasis. I just want to say that when the Tetra was pushing up there, backing up was okay. I think just making sure that you don't die, especially since your special is a lot more important than theirs. Like, dying with Crab is a lot worse than dying with Reef Slider. But I see that Blue's in mid, and I guess you were wanting to help there. The problem is that you're leaving Star alone. And so, because Leader can't really fight a Tetra, especially at close range. So it's sort of leaving Star backed up into a corner like this. It was still something that, especially if you haven't fought against Tetra a lot, it can be very difficult to win against it. But I do think it is worth the investment to... I think it was still worth it to just be in a general position where you could help Star with burst bombs or just paint to slow the Tetras down and not die while you're doing it, because that can give Star enough time to charge up a partial, and then that can be like a 60 charge shot, or a partly charged shot that does about 60 or 70 damage, and then you can finish that off with 1 or 2 shots. So here, 2 down. The main problem here is Blue, Stasis, you both choose different options. So Stasis's decision was, I'm going to stay in mid and try to just keep control for what I can, however long I can, because they only have a Tetra and a Gal, and it'll take a bit of time for them to completely set up, and we have a bit of mid control. Blue saw the situation and thought, okay, we're 2 down, I'm going to back up. So, in other words, Blue is abandoning Stasis here. I think if you both backed up, it would have been an okay decision. I think if you both stayed in mid, it would have also been an okay decision. Because even though you were a bit trapped on left, you could have fought the Tetra as a team. You could have had the bubble to help with that. Oh, another thing is you both had a lot of clams. So Junior had 5, Stasis had 7. So either of you going down there was going to be tough. Um, I don't think that. I think that makes Blue's play understandable because they had 5 clams. I don't think that makes Stasis's play a bad one. I think it just means that there might need to be a bit of communication in voice chat about I'm going to help me in mid, for example. But also this is given that I think just with the play that Stasis did, moving up front away from Star, and then what Blue did, moving back away from Stasis, sort of shows me that like it's a lot of playing alone, and you just happen to be around the same area. I think trying to take new spaces together can be a very valuable thing in um like PvP. So I might recommend going into open games and being in voice chat with one other person, and no matter what, trying to take about the same area. You can do so from different angles, but generally just trying not to abandon each other. If one of you pushes up, you both push up. If one of you backs up, you both back up. Um, it won't be as like it'll take getting used to, first of all. Second, it will make you lose a few games, but I think that that can help you start to get an idea of where exactly can I be near my teammate? When exactly do I need to just break off and do my own thing? And also, when do I want to call for help? Um, and I think it also helps to sort of know where your teammates are. So this is a sort of advanced topic of like awareness. So I'm guessing a lot of your callouts right now are the enemy team. So the enemy has a special or they're on their snipe. Um, it can also be useful to just make sure that you keep track of where your teammates are. Um, or if you're trying to make a play, then being able to communicate that with your team. So if you're using special to get control of a certain area, say it. Like, I'm going to use tripling strike, let's get into mid. Or, of course, callout should be quick, so something like, I'm popping special, let's take mid. Um, and just things like that to try to push in a bit more together and be on the same page with what you're using specials for. Since yeah, you're not the only person who can utilize your special. Like bubble is a very good example of this, where teammates can go into the bubble and be protected. But even things like tripling strike, it can move opponents. So then the junior can move in and throw a splat bomb behind them, and suddenly they're dead. So okay. I think another thing that can help is just if you're in disadvantage, that is the enemy team has mid control on zones, or really any mode and is trying to push objective. Um, Trying to look into the top right of your screen and seeing how close you are to special can mean a lot. And then trying to use your own special to move back in. Doing this in ranked might be a good starting point. So only moving in when you have special. Of course, this will make you lose some games, so maybe doing it in open where it won't cost you as much. But yeah, the main thing with finding an opening when you're on defense, it's really just specials and high ground. So Flounder Heights is sort of a bad example. So I won't use it because again, it's probably one of the harder maps to play. Um, but something like Mahi Mahi Resort, um, you all have been doing it pretty well of just staying back and throwing bombs and painting if you're 2 down. But I think it's really just waiting for Inkstrike to make area, for Crab to make a lot of area, for Bubble to help with that and help in fights. And here, you're seeing from the enemy team, the Gal wailed, and you're instantly seeing a torpedo from the Junior coming out. So even though the Gal is technically the only one pushing right now, the rest of their team is throwing bombs in front to help them move forward, um, and to give a bit more pressure into the opponent. So I think that is something to try to keep in mind, even if you're not wanting to move up directly, thinking, how can I throw a bomb, or can I throw a bomb, or can I paint my teammates' feet um, to make what they're doing a little bit safer. Um, Sometimes you get teammates in rank that are like feeding, um, but I found that often just recognizing teammates that are being aggressive and throwing bombs in the fights that they're in can help them a lot. Even if they eventually die anyways, it's a good habit to be creating. So from here, Stasis and Blue are on the back foot. I do like that you try to go for that fight together. Just make sure that you're not both exactly in the same spot. So you all were very bunched up. Um, I think one of you could have moved a bit further to the right while one of you was looking at left. Um, that can generally make it so that any bombs or torpedoes that are thrown your way um, don't hit one of you by accident. And then it also makes it so that the enemy can't just shoot in one direction and hit both of you. They have to choose a target. So I think there's an idea of not abandoning your teammates, but also not being so close to them that you get hit by any area of effects. So like bombs or rollers, or I guess sloshers or blasters would be a better idea. Main thing here is you could be using a bit more of this time to just paint up from a bit more distance space. Since right here, I know you're trying to grab clams so that the opponent will get them, but you're likely going to die and still give them 3 on your death anyways. And then moving up forward like this, it makes you get hit by torpedo and autobomb, and you're not really able to move away from the reef slider. When if you were maybe on left side and just stayed there for a little bit longer, essentially just being a bit more patient in disadvantage. You also have Crab Tank, so that might have been useful. Because now you're 1 down without any specials. So I guess like it feels like you don't need to force an opening. sometimes it's good to just wait a little bit and sort of stay in the same position or like not really moving up because you're still not letting the opponent move into you. And that can be very valuable because you're charging special while you're doing that. That was a good 2 down though. So overall, you were still able to stop the push because of picks. So um, it's just important to note that um, that is putting a lot of pressure onto the people left alive to get all of those picks against opponents that might have special. Like there wasn't a Waybreaker or Whale in that push. They also had Ink Fact, so um, it's just something to note. Just a minor note. While having Ink Strike, you cannot paint around you, so maybe hitting the torpedo would have helped the 10 attack not die there. Also, when using triple Ink Strike, make sure you're not in an area where the team is already like trying to aggress, because if they're painting around you, if they're throwing bombs around you, not being able to go in the ink can hurt a lot. um, Also, in situations like this, you don't need to make a power clam right that instant. Um, it's a 3v3, so I think just waiting for respawns before you made a power clam, maybe passing some clams to your E leader, so Star. Um, that might have helped a bit. So I think this was again just a bit of panic since the enemy team has a lead still. And you thought that you could try to make something happen with the crab tank. The problem is that um, your team already sort of went down from that. Um, and so crab wasn't able to do much on their own. And I think just waiting until your teammates are fully respawned and you're all 4 alive when a special is popped can make a special go a lot farther. Because that positioning for crab wasn't bad at all. Well, it was decent. So I think that's not the main thing that we're talking about here. It's if your teammates were alive and pressuring Charger so it couldn't stay there right behind that block, then the crab would have likely been able to stay out alive a bit longer, be able to throw out a lot more pressure and force the enemy team back a little bit. And then the 10 attack and Junior will be able to push that even further. So it's something to keep in mind. Okay, good pick on the Tetra. All of you went for it together, so that's good. Just make sure you're being careful with the Charger still being able to overlook most of mid. Okay, so this positioning with Japes is pretty decent. I think the main thing here is just you don't have the clams to push right now. So I think moving up with Japes here is good. Because Japes is already moving up, so doing the same thing lets you get pressure up and control. And it lets you get a pick. The only problem is you can't really do anything with his position because you don't have the clams to push. And you were eventually able to get the lead there, so I think that was still a good position to hold. I just don't know if the bubble was the right timing. Like, it was very early, all things considered. Okay, and that was just because you were wiped, the opposing team was just able to move in really quickly and retake that, so I think the main thing is just when neither team really has a stark advantage, you don't need to try to force an opening. You can just wait for special. Using special from a safe area, so with Ink Strike, it can be good to throw it at the charger or like from mid or even your side of the map because it goes a bit further than a bomb. So you can throw it from a decent while away, and it takes long enough to actually activate that you can go forward after that, or even better, if you're throwing it while your splash teammate is in front of you, then they can move up, and then you can help them move up. Aside from that, recognizing when you have clams to push. Also, just a general note, if you don't have enough clams to get past 60, I wouldn't recommend pushing just because 60 is 2 power clams. So that's one clam that the opponent creates, and then the pity clam that spawns after your push is over. So um then the last thing would be not abandoning teammates. I think being clustered up a bit is fine at first when you're trying to play together. It's a step in the right direction. And as time goes on, you'll start to play at different angles around each other. So that should be some food for thought. When you all watch this, you can always ask me for clarification and other things. So I think it did take them a while to pass clams, but notice as soon as I will figure out how to say this as a bot because I haven't done that with Twitch. So that should be the peer pressure as a team. That should be enough food for thought at the moment. And then there was one match that one member of Peer Pressure, Pastelix, who is also in chat, has sent me. So I'll be watching that and commenting on their perspective specifically. B-E-E-N-Q-L. Okay. Alright, thanks. Yeah, I'll look into it after the stream, so don't worry about it. Okay. So this is a Rainmaker match, relatively close. Okay, it seems like it's ranked, so. One big thing with roller is just the opponent knowing where you are. If they know, then it's sort of like Dabble, where it's a lot harder to move in. Just immediately, I'm seeing the Hydra will be an issue. This Blue Splash and Splatana paint a lot more than your team. Wait, Do you have a big swig? Okay, maybe you have about even paint or slight your favor. So paint shouldn't be all that much of an issue. Okay, as far as popping here, Hydra takes a minute to set up, but once it does, it has the DPS to break Rainmaker Shield. So if you're not able to get it immediately, I'd say just back up. The sploosh actually did something that I haven't seen many people do. Wait a minute. Okay, so right there, you can see the sploosh painting up left side and moving that direction. It was a very slight thing. If you had your camera tilted a bit further up, then it would be a bit more visible on your side. But I think with that positioning, it's sort of clear to at least watch that later. And then you can hear the curling bomb from left. So it's a combination of not knowing that the Hydra will be able to pop quickly and not recognizing that the sploosh was moving left at start. So I think just you can open map for this, but I don't think Mako's a map to really watch for, because what the sploosh did here is very irregular. I think it's mostly just recognizing, hey, that area on left is painted, and I don't know if it's television, because right here you can see the sploosh jumped and fell down on the left. So clearly they're not going for the Rainmaker Shield here. And because it's a sploosh, what else is it going to do? It's going to flank. And I think that curling bomb that it threw was a huge audio cue. It might not have been something that you heard. It's a bit difficult to catch on to. But especially just seeing it on left side. But I think that's enough of that part of the game. Yeah, I guess just watching out for paint trails that are made with splooshes in mind, curling bombs, rollers, even short-range shooters like splatter shots and splashes can flank occasionally, so just watching out for that. You take a while to decide where to start painting here. The opponent knows you're going to be coming from spawn anyways, so you can drop here, you can move up, but also I'd say for a large part of that, the balloon was in the way of you seeing the enemy. So like even right now, you can't see that the crab is active. You can't see where it's shooting. Well, yeah, you can't see where the crab is active. You can't see the Rainmaker. You can't see anything that's happening in that area. So someone can be moving around and be able to be hit by your roller, but you can't see it for that to actually happen. So keeping your camera in a way that's not as well, keeping your camera in a way that maximizes your field of vision. Second, the enemy knows that you're going to be coming from respawn, and they're going to be shooting there anyways because your teammates are there. So I don't think there's any gain here. I think with the Hydra there, I can kind of see you staying behind cover, but it could still be painting around on your spawn to get a big bubbler. Is the main thing, and being able to paint so that the Rainmaker doesn't have a free shot forward. Since right now you can see all of that is pink, but if you were sort of where the ink rail is and just sort of shooting, then and also right here you go for the sploosh while the Rainmaker is able to push up. So This is just targeting. Partly if you saw the curling bomb and didn't have the camera in front of the bubble, then you might have been able to jump the sploosh earlier. Or get a jump on the sploosh, I apologize. But yeah, so right now you're seeing your teammate in this area. You also drop down from the elevator position, so the Rainmaker just has a free shot up front. I'm honestly surprised they haven't moved it at all until now. I think this positioning is a lot better on, like, as soon as you got out of respawn, you got into a space where it's a bit more spacious, a bit more, able to be moving around, throwing curling bombs, painting up. One thing about this is you sort of ignore the paint that lets Rainmaker get to goal. I don't think it affected this game, but it's something to keep in mind. It's also just really safe paint to get, so you can charge up Big Bubbler. You're also very passive here when the only one alive was a sploosh. And a Hydra, which was likely on their side of the map, because why would it be on left stack if it's alone? So because you can outrange a sploosh, you one-shot it, you can just start painting up. I think, again, it's, I know with Roller you shark a lot, but it's also, if there's not a lot of paint around you, the enemy doesn't have to guess where you are, because they know you have to be in your own ink. Okay, eventually you notice the sploosh on left side and helped, so that was good. I think overall this was a pretty good position to take, just on right side to push up. Because I think it's so good to push right with one person as the rest of the team goes left, so that the enemy can't just go on right stack and pressure Rainmaker before it can get through the jump, as the Crab tried to do, so that was good. One thing about targeting here, the Hydra was in a spot where... I'll actually just illustrate. So you pop Rainmaker here. Look at the Hydra right now. Roller, this is a prime pick for Roller. Like, if you did a horizontal flick here, like, I think from this distance, if you moved up while shooting it, it would have hit, and killed. So, generally, Hydra's something that you want to watch out for more than any other weapon on offense, because it's able to, just do a lot. So, it might have been awareness, so just recognizing that, hey, Hydra's in a bad spot. I think it might also be, like, at the start of the game, just seeing the enemy comp and thinking, what's going to be the hardest, what's going to be the weapon that's most important to get rid of here. Usually it's like a backline. Okay, so you saw the Rainmaker died, and because of that, sort of hyper-focused on it. The thing with that is your Gal is right next to you as well, so I don't think it was necessarily on you to defend the Rainmaker as much as the Gal. As a roller, you're really making new space. That was a good pick. And then another decent pick, yeah. I think the main thing with the Hydra is if it was still in that left position, the bubble was good to keep it away from dealing with Rainmaker. So that's the reason why I couldn't stay in that spot. But it could have moved up further on left side maybe and made it so that Rainmaker couldn't move forward. So I guess especially against this comp, you don't have anything like a charger that can really pressure Hydra. So the only thing that could with its range alone will be Crab Tank or like the Rainmaker itself. So it's something that's very important to get off the field as much as possible. You move back here while no one's really pressuring mid. And so your teammate dies to the sploosh when that could have been a pick that you would be able to get. Like a here-ish. So like I'd honestly recommend here just painting a bit more around this area because a curling bomb, they can just paint directly over that, but a horizontal swing takes a bit longer. And see, Owl level 14 is pretty much in mid right now contesting, but without paint. So the enemy could be around them. And further, you could be supporting them there. But yeah, they died this sploosh. So here, the Ink Vac, the Splatana tries to go up for it. I think it was just recognizing that a little too late. Or I guess recognizing that your teammate has Ink Vac and is using it, and then being on right or being around them to just get paint control. Because even if they see a rollers in the Ink Vac, it's essentially a shield, so you don't need to worry about enemy bullets as much. And so right here, I guess it's essentially your splash went down to the sploosh, which you could have helped pick off the sploosh before they died to the splash. And then your big swing died to the Splatana, which you could have helped by recognizing it just a bit faster. So even though you are 3 down, it is something where you stayed alive, but there were situations where you could have low risk poked the opponent and still gotten a pick or two. I think this is a prime example of just if all you do is shark around and just hide in the ink without actually painting around you, you can easily get cornered when the team is trying to push up. You weren't splatted there, but it was a very likely scenario. I think that was a good position to take as roller. Maybe just doing a few vertical flicks before you drop down, because Rainmaker. Okay, if you're able to get that trade, then okay. It's essentially just made it so that the Rainmaker stays in mid with slight advantage. They can get super jumps from teammates a few seconds after. If you get 2, then fantastic. But they see you drop down without paint around you, and so they're able to capitalize on that. So it's very unlikely that you get both of them. So that either you get a trade or you just die. If you get a trade, it essentially reinforces the slight advantage that the opposing team has because you don't really have much paint control. The only thing that can paint is the Gal, and they have a Rainmaker and Sploosh up. And then if you die, then without doing anything, then they not only have the Sploosh and Rainmaker, but also Buddy Man. Teammates able to trade with Rainmaker, but if they just died to it instead of trading, then it would have been a full wipe. So I guess is still behind you, but it's good that you focus on Rainmaker here because they're going to be pushing for lead. The main thing here is your teammates are trying to get Rainmaker's shield, and you sort of abandon them. I guess I can see why you were a bit scared of the stamp, but if you had just a bit more paint, so like doing a horizontal flick or two around yourself, then you would have a lot more space to work with to just move away from the stamp and then punish it like you did. It's just doing that a bit closer to Rainmaker. Of course, not so close that if they decide to just pop it, that you die. It's this balance of like not being so close to teammates that you die to the same thing like a hammer, while also not being so far away from them that you can't help out in their fights. There's a lot of pain in mid that you're sort of just leaving there, right here. And so because you left the pain in mid, teammates or the enemy is just able to come in from that pain that you didn't get, and get a surprise attack on you, essentially. Okay, I just want you to know that will not work. That should not have worked. Okay, and then the squishy swords forward. One thing about this position, it's a very condensed alleyway, so if you want to move past it, you have to go through that small area. Even if people don't know rollers there, it's easy to just shoot down that area with something like a Hydra. So unless absolutely no one is watching that area, it's generally not good to stay around as a roller. I think in this time you could be painting up the wall and then going up on the stack. If you did that, then you'd have a bit more of a high ground to still be able to just do a few flicks on the opponent. You eventually back up. I think that's a good decision overall. Because also you have the lead, it's more important that you conserve your bubble for defense rather than pushing in and risking dying. There's very little pain around you still. I think if the Rainmaker would have went left, you would have had a lot more problems immediately. I think they just forgot about the roller existence, like your existence. So I think again, you don't really have that much paint around you, so all of this movement is very difficult to get. I think it's a decent place as Shark in all fairness. Like, it was a good place as Shark because if the Rainmaker wants to move on that side, they have to go through that block. But it's just a matter of having paint around you is generally much better than not. Okay, right there, that was a position where just you revealed your location a bit too early and then tried to rush the opponent. If instead you would have went a bit to the left of Rainmaker or even below them and shot, maybe it would have gotten the jump on them. That is going below them given that you have paint. also a big thing is just painting around you to get a bubble will be important here, because they're 2 down. They're not going to be doing that much. It doesn't matter if they see you can just reposition or poke them, because it's just a sploosh. Like, you outrange them. So being able to just charge special in the last 20 or so seconds, so that if they do start getting a push, you have special to defend. That was a hero play. That was seeing that the Rainmaker is not... They weren't yet in a bad spot. So, like, they were sort of in mid, and they could have backed up into the stack and waited for their teammate to pick you off. You moved up and dropped down without paint, and so I think that was a bit lucky that the Rainmaker still continued to move forward with you. They also didn't shoot over the block to hit you. I think I might actually go into recon to illustrate a few points here. Maps and modes have updated. Woo. I'm sorry, I don't want to attribute that to luck, now that I think about it. I think waiting that spot was okay. It's just that, wait, where's Marigold? I forget where she is. Okay, over there. Right here. Okay, I don't have on roller. I forgot you have to do that before you go here, so I apologize. But, essentially you can just look here from, like, this angle while still being in this position. But I would also recommend maybe, like, being around here, because as a roller you can still, like, do horizontal flicks and get some paint here while having the balloon in case you want to have a bit more cover. And yeah, this space is good if they try to go left, because you can drop down from here or from the right side, as you did. But just make sure that if they're around here with Rainmaker, then I don't have a bomb with this. But if they're right here with Rainmaker and they see you drop down, they can just move back and instantly have some space on you. Also, this hits exactly where you are. And that's usually a shot that I try to make before pushing up right side. Or, like, to better illustrate, all of this area, this entire block, if you were there, you would be forced to back up slightly, so just keep that in mind. The Rainmaker can shoot sort of like an Explosher. So this area is decent until they start shooting at it, is essentially what I'm saying. And personally, against a roller, I would be shooting at it. So I think that's that. Yeah. I hope that for you and the rest of Peer Pressure that this has been helpful in some ways. Know that my DMs are still open if you or anyone else would like to have your Scrim or ranked matches reviewed at the Discord. You can contact me on Discord at this, or Twitter at... Right. So keep that in mind, but this is more for just the VOD, so yeah. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you around.